The Texas sky was gray and heavy, rain dripping onto the narrow streets of the small college town. Puddles reflected the dim streetlights as students hurried along the sidewalks, umbrellas tilted against the wind. Among them walked Anna Miller, a 22-year-old medical student in her final year. Her shoulders sagged under the weight of an old, frayed backpack. Every step she took seemed burdened with exhaustion. Anna's life had been unraveling thread by thread. Her father had died, leaving behind crushing debts. Her mother's illness required constant medication, and her younger brother was on the verge of being suspended from school because the tuition was unpaid. Between exams, jobs, and hospital visits, Anna felt as if the world was slowly pressing down until she could no longer breathe. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, jolting her out of her thoughts. She answered cautiously. "Anna Miller?" A man's voice came through, deep, calm, authoritative. "Yes, this is Anna. Who is this?" "My name is Richard Hale. I'd like to meet you. It's about your financial situation." Anna froze, gripping her phone tightly. How could a stranger know such details about her? "I'm sorry, who are you? How do you know?" "I know enough," he cut in smoothly. "Meet me at Hale's Bistro, 7 o'clock p.m. It's important." The line went dead before Anna could protest. The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of unease. Who was this man? Why did he know her name, her problems? Common sense told her to stay away, but desperation gnawed at her. By evening, against her better judgment, Anna found herself standing in front of the bistro, its windows glowing warmly against the storm outside. Inside, the air was rich with the aroma of coffee and wine. At a corner table sat an older man with a commanding presence. His silver hair was slicked back neatly. His tailored suit spoke of wealth and power, and his piercing blue eyes fixed on her the moment she stepped inside. "Miss Miller," he said, gesturing to the seat across from him. Anna hesitated, then sat. "You're Richard Hale? Please tell me why I'm here." He lifted his teacup with deliberate calm, took a sip, then replied, "I know about your debts. Your father's mistakes left you drowning, and you're struggling to keep your mother alive and your brother in school. I'm here to offer a solution." Anna's brows furrowed. And what exactly would that be? He set the cup down and locked eyes with her. "Marry me. I will erase all your debts, take care of your family, and guarantee your financial future. In return, you will be my wife on paper, nothing more." For a moment, the cafe seemed to fall silent, the hum of conversation fading into nothing. Anna stared at him, certain she had misheard. You can't be serious." "I am. This isn't romance. It's an arrangement. You need freedom from your burdens, and I need a wife. Think of it as a contract." Anna sat frozen, her heart pounding. The offer was absurd, terrifying. And yet, was this the lifeline she had been waiting for? The days following that strange meeting at the cafe were a torment for Anna. Each night she sat at her small desk, surrounded by stacks of unpaid bills and her mother's bottles of medicine. Every cough that echoed from her mother's bedroom cut into her like a blade. Her younger brother had just received a warning letter. Pay the tuition within the month or be suspended. When Anna confided in her mother about Richard's shocking proposal, her mother grasped trembling hands, her voice weak but firm. "I know this sounds unthinkable, but Anna, if he truly wants to help, maybe it's worth considering. Sometimes, to save your family, you must sacrifice your own dreams." The words felt like chains tightening around Anna's chest. Sacrifice? Did her youth, her future, her chance at love mean nothing more than bargaining chips in a contract marriage? But when she looked into her mother's tired eyes and her brother's desperate face, Anna realized she had no real choice. 1 week later, she said yes. The wedding was held in a quiet courthouse. No flowers, no music, no friends or family to witness. Anna wore a plain dress, Richard a perfectly tailored suit. Only 2 witnesses and the officiant were present. "By the authority vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife," the judge declared. Anna swallowed hard, her chest heavy with dread. Richard turned to her, lips curling into a thin smile that never reached his eyes. "Welcome to your new life, Mrs. Hale." As they stepped out of the courthouse, rain drizzled steadily from the gray sky. Anna glanced at a puddle on the ground. Her reflection stared back, young, weary, afraid, standing beside the sharp silhouette of an old man who was now her husband. Was this salvation or the beginning of a prison sentence? The car ride to Richard's estate was long and silent. When the gates finally opened, Anna's breath caught. Before her stood a sprawling mansion perched on a hill, its tall stone columns exuding wealth and old-world grandeur. Yet the windows were dark, lifeless, watching her like hollow eyes. Inside, the halls were vast, lined with oil paintings and statues. The red carpet stretched endlessly, punctuated by locked wooden doors. The staff bowed politely as she passed, but their silence made the house feel more like a mausoleum than a home. "Your room is on the second floor. Everything has been prepared," Richard said flatly, as though he were handing over a hotel suite rather than welcoming a bride. Anna's bedroom was opulent, a king-size bed draped in silk, antique furniture, tall windows overlooking the perfectly manicured gardens. Yet despite the luxury, the room felt cold, soulless, untouched by warmth or love. That night, sitting before the mirror, Anna slid the wedding ring from her finger and stared at it. The gold band sparkled under the lamplight, but to her, it looked less like a symbol of love and more like a golden shackle. At dinner, she sat at one end of a long dining table while Richard occupied the far end. The food was exquisite: imported wine, tender steak, delicately crafted desserts, but Anna could barely taste it. Richard glanced up from his plate, his tone casual yet cutting. "You'll get used to this, or you won't. Either way, you're here now." His words echoed in her mind long after the meal ended. In that moment, Anna realized the mansion was not a sanctuary. It was a gilded cage, and she was its newest captive. Life inside the Hale mansion soon settled into a rhythm that felt more like captivity than comfort. Anna had fine clothes, endless meals, and a room fit for royalty, but none of it eased the weight in her chest. The house was too silent, too still, its beauty masking an emptiness that unsettled her. The staff moved about politely yet distantly. They bowed, they served, but they rarely met her gaze. When Anna walked into a hallway, conversations would abruptly stop. More than once, she caught fragments of whispers, low voices that vanished the moment she approached. It was as if everyone in the house knew something she did not. One evening, Anna passed by the mansion's grand library. The door was ajar, and through the gap, she saw Richard seated at a desk. The lamplight glowed against his silver hair as he scribbled notes in a leather-bound book. On the table beside him lay a small, ornate key, its bronze edges glinting in the light. A key. But to what? The mansion was filled with locked doors. Anna had often passed them during her nightly walks, their brass handles gleaming like secrets waiting to be uncovered. Now, staring at the key, a spark of curiosity flared inside her. That night, when the house was quiet, Anna crept back into the library. The key was still there, left carelessly beside the scattered papers. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. It was heavier than she expected, cool against her skin, as though it carried the weight of the house's hidden truths. She slipped it into her pocket and hurried back to her room, her heart pounding. Sleep was impossible. The key seemed to burn against her thigh, whispering to her in the silence of the night. Finally, unable to resist, Anna slipped out of bed and padded barefoot down the carpeted hall. The moonlight streaming through the tall windows cast long, eerie shadows across the corridor. She stopped in front of a door at the far end of the hall, one she had always noticed but never dared approach. With trembling fingers, she inserted the key. Click. The lock gave way with a sound that echoed in the stillness, making her heart leap. Inside, the air was thick with dust. The room was a time capsule: faded wallpaper, cobwebs in the corners, and old furniture draped in sheet, and on a table sat a collection of silver-framed photographs, their glass cloudy with age. Anna picked one up, her breath catching. It was Richard in his youth, standing proudly beside a beautiful woman who must have been his late wife. Then her eyes fell on the pile of documents on the desk. Contracts, letters, many bearing a signature she recognized instantly, her father's. Her hands shook as she read. Failed business deals, accusations of fraud, a furious handwritten note scrawled in dark ink. You ruined everything. My family lost it all because of your lies. My wife is sick, and I will never forgive you. Anna's chest tightened, her knees weakening. Could it be true her father, the man she had always believed a victim of circumstance, was accused of destroying Richard's family. Just then, the floor creaked behind her. The door opened slowly. Richard's voice cut through the silence, low and sharp. Curiosity, Anna. It's far more dangerous than debt. Anna spun around, the documents still clutched in her trembling hands, her pulse roaring in her ears. For the first time, she understood that she had stumbled into a game much darker than she had ever imagined. Richard's piercing eyes froze Anna in place. He stepped into the dusty room slowly, each click of his shoes on the wooden floor echoing like a countdown. You married me just to take revenge on my father? Anna's voice quivered, but she forced the words out. Richard's lips curled into a cold smile. Finally, you see. This marriage was never about love. It was about justice, or rather punishment. Your father destroyed my family, and now his daughter pays the debt. Anna clutched the papers tightly, her hands trembling. But I had nothing to do with it. Why punish me for something I didn't do? Richard's expression hardened, his voice dropping into a growl. Do you think my wife had anything to do with your father's schemes? And yet she died, broken by illness, crushed under the weight of ruin. I lost the only woman I ever loved, while your father lived on, unscathed. Tell me, where's the fairness in that? His words stabbed into Anna like knives. A part of her felt a pang of sorrow for his loss, but another part burned with indignation. She refused to be treated as a pawn in a game of vengeance. You're wrong, Richards. Revenge doesn't heal wounds, it only creates new ones. If you think trapping me in this house will bring you peace, you're fooling yourself. For the first time, the smile vanished from Richard's face. He stared at her, the silence stretching until it became unbearable. Finally, he turned sharply, his back to her. Go to bed, Anna. There are things you don't yet understand. Don't let your curiosity kill you before you see the full game. The door slammed shut behind him. Anna sank into a chair, her heart pounding. She knew then that her life in this mansion was more than a contract. It was a battlefield. The following days, she became more observant. Richard's secretive phone calls in the library, the sealed envelopes handed discreetly to the butler, the anxious glances exchanged by the staff. Slowly, pieces of a darker puzzle began to form. Richard wasn't just tormenting her. He was knee-deep in shady financial dealings, falsifying documents, and striking dangerous partnerships to rebuild the empire he claimed her father had destroyed. Anna realized she couldn't remain passive. She reached out to Lucas, her old friend from law school, under the pretense of a class project. Lucas, she asked carefully then, if someone signed a contract under deception, could it be annulled? Lucas studied her, suspicion flickering in his eyes. In theory, yes, but you'd need solid evidence. Anna, are you in some kind of trouble? She forced a smile, brushing off his concern, but inside her resolve hardened. She would find proof. Late one night, she returned to Richard's office. In a hidden drawer, she discovered letters written in his unmistakable hand. Letters filled with rage, vowing that the daughter will pay for the father's sins. Alongside them were files detailing illegal financial activities that could easily bring Richard down in court. Anna's fingers shook as she held the documents. She had uncovered the heart of his vendetta, his obsession, his crimes. She stared at her reflection in the dusty window, a small, frightened young woman with fire burning in her eyes. She knew then, she was no longer just a victim. She would fight Richard Hale, and she would not stop until the truth was brought into the light. For days afterward, Anna lived a double life. By day, she sat across the long dining table answering Richard's cold questions with forced smiles. By night, she pored over the stolen files, organizing them, sending encrypted copies to Lucas, and preparing for the moment when she could finally strike back. But Richard's instincts were razor sharp. One morning, as Anna sat in the cavernous breakfast room, he set down his newspaper and looked at her with an unsettling calm. You've been busy, haven't you, Anna? Her spoon froze halfway to her mouth. I don't know what you mean. Richard leaned back in his chair, a smirk tugging at his lips. Don't play innocent. I can smell deceit. If you think you can outsmart me, you're gravely mistaken. I've destroyed people far stronger than you. He rose, casting a shadow across the table, and left the room without another word. The silence he left behind was suffocating. Anna's hands shook, but inside her determination solidified. She had to act before he tightened his grip further. 3 nights later, while Richard was away for a business meeting, Anna met with Lucas and a private investigator at a small cafe in town. They laid the evidence out on the table. Fraudulent contracts, forged accounts, personal letters, dripping with vengeance. The investigator nodded grimly. This is more than enough. Fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. He's finished. We'll take this to the authorities. Anna exhaled shakily, relief mixing with fear. But if he realizes what I've done before they act, he won't let me walk away alive. Her fears proved prophetic. That very evening, back at the mansion, Richard was waiting in the library. On the desk in front of him lay a folder, the very same documents Anna thought she had hidden away. His face was dark with fury, his voice like ice. You think you're clever, Anna? Everything you have, this house, your freedom, came from me. And this is how you repay me? With betrayal? Anna's pulse thundered in her ears, but she stood her ground. I don't owe you anything, Richard. This marriage was a lie, a trap. You've manipulated me, used me as a pawn for your revenge, but I won't let you destroy anyone else, not me, not my family. For a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. His eyes blazed, hers burned just as fiercely. It was no longer an old man against a young woman. It was vengeance against justice. Then, the library doors burst open. Heavy footsteps filled the room as uniformed officers entered, Lucas and the investigator close behind. Richard Hale, the officer announced. You're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Richard's head snapped toward Anna, his face twisted with rage. You think you've won, girl? Listen carefully. Revenge never dies. It will haunt you, even when I'm gone. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists. The once powerful Richard Hale was led away, his furious words echoing in the grand halls. Anna stood frozen, the storm of emotions crashing inside her. Relief, sorrow, and an unshakable weight. She had ended the nightmare, but the scars of this twisted marriage would remain etched in her heart forever. The trial took place months later in the county courthouse. The once mighty Richard Hale sat hunched at the defendant's table, his tailored suits replaced by a plain gray uniform. His silver hair was unkempt, his proud shoulders slumped. Gone was the aura of control and power. In its place was a man worn down by bitterness and age. Anna sat quietly among the witnesses. She had turned over all the evidence to the prosecutors. When she testified, her words were calm and measured. She did not exaggerate, nor did she push for the harshest punishment. She told the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. When the judge pronounced Richard guilty, sentencing him to years in prison, the room buzzed with whispers. Richard did not lash out. He did not shout or argue. Instead, he turned his head and, for a brief second, locked eyes with Anna. The fire of vengeance that had once defined him was gone. What she saw instead was exhaustion, and perhaps a flicker of regret. Weeks later, Anna was summoned by Richard's lawyer. The man handed her a thick envelope. Inside were property deeds, transferring the mansion to her, and a letter written in Richard's shaky hand. Anna, I spent my life in chains of hatred. I thought forcing you to carry your father's sins would give me justice. I was wrong. Vengeance only built another prison, one I locked myself inside. You showed me that truth, not cruelty, is what endures. I have nothing left to give but this house. Use it as you will. Perhaps it will finally be free of my bitterness. Anna folded the letter carefully, her hands trembling. She did not know if she could ever forgive him entirely, but she felt the grip of his hatred loosening from her life. She sold the mansion. Its grand halls and gilded corridors had been nothing more than a cage. From the proceeds, she paid off her family's debts, secured proper treatment for her mother, and most importantly, established a scholarship in the name of Clara Hale, Richard's late wife. Anna wanted the scholarship to be a beacon, not of revenge, but of second chances. At the scholarship's inauguration, Anna stood before a group of young students, their eyes shining with hope. She spoke with a voice steady yet emotional. This fund isn't just about money. It's about giving opportunities to those who've been told the doors are closed. It's about turning loss into purpose and pain into possibility. When the ceremony ended, Anna stepped outside into the crisp autumn air. The sky was clear, sunlight spilling gently over the campus grounds. She looked upward, taking a long breath as if inhaling freedom itself. In her coat pocket, Richard's letter remained, a reminder that forgiveness is not forgetting, but choosing not to let hatred rule the heart. Anna's story did not end with vengeance, but with rebirth. From the darkest wounds, she had drawn strength, and in breaking the cycle of revenge, she discovered the true power of compassion and renewal. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to follow Life-Changing Story for more powerful tales of hope, resilience, and transformation.